If you constantly find yourself attracted to men whose vibe feels like they'd hang out at a Waffle House at 3 a.m., but also like they could help you find the meaning of life, you might be drawn to the archetype of the philosophical swamp daddy. These men are portrayed as unpolished and unpredictable, but beneath their rugged surface, they exude an air of soul-searching, demon-fighting wisdom.
You know, you're not gonna see this, but your assumed perversion of the word daddy, I think that's stemming from a fear of mortality, man.
These often humorous men can possess a seemingly effortless magnetism, but within the shadows may be driven by a deep fear of their own nature. Those who tend to be attracted to this archetype may possess the duality of craving free-spirited adventure, as well as deeply safe and comforting energies from someone they can trust on a soul level. So what is it exactly that makes these men so attractive? Let's break it down. I'm Ingrid and welcome to my channel. Here I discuss psychology, character analysis, culture, and self-awareness, so like and subscribe if you want to see more of that. It really helps out a small channel. And for extended videos and exclusive content, check out my Patreon in the description box. Now, let's get into it.
Dude, you think the wind, you think we could ever decipher the wind? You think the wind is ever trying to tell us something and we don't know how to hear it anymore?
The archetypal men of philosophical swamp daddies always embody a unique paradox. They're both reckless and safe, chaotic yet grounding, and intellectual but not pretentious. These men have often lived hard and complex lives, both externally and self-induced, and have come out the other side of a dark shadowed period with greater strength, more self-awareness, and deeper wisdom. Their pasts are often filled with great adventures, interactions with all walks of life, and periods of rock-bottom self-destruction that really granted them the ability to face their demons head on.
I spent most of from 14 to 25 in jail. Now they're building a new juvenile that we're going to sink millions of dollars into and have an aftercare program. I'm going to do so much for at-risk youth in Nashville because I look back at it and I talk about it so much that sometimes I desensitize myself for how traumatic it really was.
Whether they fall on the darker, more tortured, or happy-go-lucky humorous side of the spectrum, they almost always feel engaging, interesting, and able to spark a shift in whoever they're interacting with.
I can't be a hero because I am on Down syndrome.
What's that got to do with your heart? Who told you that? Some shit you ain't never gonna do. That's all right. You sink like a stone, because you're all muscle.
Overtly or intuitively knowing that these men have been through extreme darkness from their own shadows as well as external circumstance can allow you, or whoever is attracted to them, to feel as though this man is trustworthy and capable of leading you through your own shadows and capable of handling anything that life may throw at your potential relationship. They're sometimes portrayed with tendencies towards addiction, a refusal of societal conformity, and an inability to be tied down, giving them this chaotic and free-spirited edge. Their attraction comes from the fact that they aren't performing, they just are. They don't try to seem deep and sometimes can even be mistaken for having a lack of intelligence or being an airhead.
No, man, but you gotta keep going. What am I gonna do, quit? That's not an option. You gotta keep on keeping on. Life's a garden, dig it? You make it work for you. You never give up, man. That's my philosophy. You hear that in there?
Yet they can say the most insightful and profound things you've ever heard. This is their exact paradox. Their chaos brings comfort because those who haven't faced their own shadow can be ultimately much less trustworthy.
I feel a little bit more emotionally okay. My biggest thing wasn't I wasn't addicted to drugs or alcohol, but I was addicted to feeling bad about myself. And when I would get to certain places in those feelings, I would then use drugs. You know, I just ended up doing drugs by myself because I could be by myself where I felt the only place I still felt comfortable, and I could do drugs, which made me feel good.
Aesthetically, these men can appear unkempt or rough around the edges, usually refraining from a polished look. They come off as rebellious without trying to prove anything, rejecting status, structure, and the polished aesthetics of modern masculinity in favor of freedom, experience, and spiritual curiosity, which is seen through this ruggedness.
This is not Lord of the Flies. You can't just, there's rules, there's regulations,
Okay.
he has medication, there's paperwork.
Yeah, all right, well, while you've been doing paperwork, we've been doing something called living. Ain't that right, bud?
Commonly rocking permanent stubble, long messy hair, and sun-kissed or worn-looking skin, these men have both the vibe and appearance of a life whole of experience. Their indifference to polished aesthetics isn't laziness, it's a result of their energy being directed inward towards freedom, philosophy, self-exploration, and creative pursuits rather than the material world. So really their ruggedness isn't just a style, it's a representation of this experience. Also, interestingly, many of the men in this archetype have a style that feels distinctly gathered. With almost drifter-like fashion, statement pieces, and an effortlessly aesthetic appeal, these men often feel like their wardrobe is a direct reflection of their lifestyle, almost like they've gathered a physical form of a memory from every new interesting and off-the-wall interaction they've had.
I got a whole bunch of cool little head scarf things from there, and it was just like really beautiful patterns and stuff, and I was thinking like, I'm feeling very spiritual today, so I just wrapped my head up and went. What people think about you is in their mind, not yours, so I don't really care that much.
No additional shot nor powder, a compass that doesn't point north, and I half expected it to be made of wood.
And I don't know much about fashion. You know that. I mean, look at me. There you go.
So really, their ruggedness isn't just a style, it's a representation of this experience. Their perceived lack of care for the external might also imply a detachment from superficiality, allowing you to feel less pressured to maintain a perfectly curated image. And when less weight is placed on maintaining a perfect appearance, more can be placed on living in the moment and not caring what others think of you, granting a sense of internal security, which is also where the paradox comes into play. Much of their aesthetic vibe feels like they just threw it together with no regard for their outward expression, emphasizing how they are effortlessly cool and uninterested in their external influence being taken too seriously. They can be seen wearing women's clothing, extreme patterns, or almost goofy joke-like pieces like someone just handed them an outfit and they put it on without thought. They're often portrayed emphasizing more sentimental attachment to their material items rather than caring about the item's monetary value.
Well, sir, it's this rug I have, it really tied the room together.
A very distinct vibe these men give off is a lack of pretentiousness and appreciation for many different walks of life because their life experience has allowed room for many different encounters. They seem to see through the bullshit of status-driven intellectualism, making them seem like someone you could rely on to be a good judge of character. And though they may allow negative people into their circle due to their natural openness and curiosity, it seems like they're able to keep a boundary and hold their own if they need to. One reason they're so attractive is because they give off a sense of someone you'd like to care for. Not in a babyish way, but in a way like you want to provide a comfort that these guys have missed out on in many parts of their lives, like a sort of karmic rebalancing, allowing them to experience comfort and safety after so much hardship. They feel like they can be an emotional safe haven and influence you to want to be theirs as well. Their many experiences, much being in the trenches, suggests higher openness to new encounters and appreciation for even minor luxuries, sometimes allowing them to feel easygoing with no stress of the constant need to impress or appease them. For someone who values adventure, good vibes, and openness, this can feel extremely enticing.
Man, the hell is that? Is that a map? This is an original blueprint of the building we're in. There's about 4 or 5 rooms that I think are not on file. Smell adventure.
In relationships, these men can offer a relieving refuge from the performative nature of modern dating, where appearance and external status often dictate people's attraction. Their rebellious authenticity and rejection of the more alpha male masculinity suggest that they value freedom over conformity, but because they've often wrestled with many demons of their own, they represent instead a comforting masculinity.
These are moments that mean something to me. Two guys trying to be honest. And not even being gay and just being honest. Because these are moments I never had as a child.
Suggesting that they're capable of going to the darkest depths of self-discovery with their partner with no judgment. This is also a reason that these men can spark such a desire. Their openness and appreciation for all walks of life allow you to feel comfortable showing ugly versions of yourself without being judged or being seen as imperfect. They're both reckless and safe, both chaotic and grounding, both intimidating and secure.
If I'm resentment about something, if I'm angry about something, I need to go look at why I'm angry about it. And if I can eventually find a way that I had some say in it, then at least it's in my control.
Someone who's attracted to this archetype of man might even find them more trustworthy despite their possible flightiness because they've experienced and know many versions of themselves. An attraction to these men may indicate someone who wants to step into their feminine and free-spirited energy, but also wants to be challenged on a deeper spiritual and intellectual level. These men are chaotic yet deeply passionate, and they feel so enticing partly due to their tendency to avoid being tied down. Unfortunately, it's not far-fetched to assume that they might disappear for a week with no explanation, creating instability in their potential relationship and creating a dynamic where you feel overly eager to earn their devotion, which can be very destabilizing. With their desire for freedom and a lack of conformity, they may avoid relationships until later in life, prefer alternate forms of relationships.
I've always lived with several women. Like, I'm known for
several?
That. Yeah.
Like more than one?
I've already told you that I prefer the company of women.
Flip-flop in their outward expressions of romantic emotion or struggle with commitment. Relationships in general seem to be complex for this archetype and sometimes difficult to navigate, which is why they are often portrayed as lone wolves. They might crave both comfort and a lack of conformity and might have the tendency to push people away due to insecurity of their own stability. Having faced their own demons head on, they have seen the pain and darkness they're capable of. They might live in fear of those demons resurfacing and impacting those who they love.
Doing stand-up comedy, it's like a lifestyle of disconnection. You're in town for 4 or 5 days and then you go. So if you have a relationship starting, you're like, oh, you know. Any place that I didn't have to make a real connection, which I didn't realize wasn't a strong suit of mine, really. I didn't really realize it at that point. I didn't really realize I was evading something. I thought I was going towards something.
So what does it mean about you if you're down bad for the philosophical swamp daddy? If you're drawn to these men, you probably have a high openness to new experiences, a deep intellectual curiosity, and a desire for connection that transcends surface level attraction. You might be a seeker of wisdom, adventure, depth, and something that feels real in a world that often feels weirdly dystopian, repetitive, or scripted. You might want to step into your inner femininity, no matter your gender, by embracing feminine depth without sacrificing your own edge. You crave a relationship that feels both exhilarating and comforting, that allows for deep conversations and building internal safety through true inner work, but also the kind of chaos and adventure that keeps life from ever feeling stale. You probably don't usually fall for men who follow a traditional or linear path in life, but instead find yourself drawn towards the men who live on the edge of society, carving their own way and embodying a kind of freedom that you crave or admire. You don't want something that's just safe. You want meaningful, a connection that pushes you and makes you feel like you're stepping into a different way of being, while challenging and elevating the being you already know to exist.
Come on, listen, when people are saying he's a retard, really what they're saying is he can't do some shit they can do. So you might not be saying the word retard, all right, I'll give you that, but you damn sure is making him feel retarded.
Don't act like you know jack shit about me.
All right.
Yeah, maybe he should not be in a retirement home, but I didn't choose that for him. But that's what happened, and now I am doing the best I can. Oh!
Hey!
Oh!
Shit!
Eleanor, this is so easy. Hold on and let go.
That's it. Let go.
With these men, there's often a subconscious attraction to the fixer-upper dynamic, though you wouldn't necessarily define it in that way. It's not about wanting to change the man, but about recognizing his untapped potential, his depth, and his ability to grow, and appreciating the fact that he recognizes this in himself as well. You don't want someone completely broken or dependent on you, but you love the idea of a man who is open to self-improvement, who has walked through fire and come out the other side, and who is still figuring himself out.
You know, drugs and alcohol for me are just a side effect. Those are just, I don't even know if I have addiction to those things. But I have addiction, man. I have, just not feeling good about yourself.
In this way, the fixer-upper isn't someone broken, but someone open to improvement, not someone who's closed off and refusing to admit to their own shadow. You might find some men attractive who are macho or fiercely dark and self-deprecating, but the reason you're so distinctly drawn to this archetype is because you know that involving yourself with a man who's painfully unaware of himself only leads to more pain for everyone involved.
I was like so fucking lost.
Yeah. And who brought you back?
Me. I think you're the only person who can bring you back. Everybody can surround you. Everybody can say, hey, man, it's, what's going on? Are you all right? At the end of the day, you just have to take that love that you're offered and say, you know what, life is pretty kick-ass.
You might have a natural nurturing instinct, but not necessarily in a conventional or domesticated way, or in a way that feels, again, like babying or having someone rely on you. You want to care for a man who doesn't expect to be taken care of because of all the hardships he's faced in the past, but he still deserves it, especially because of his battles. You crave the kind of relationship that feels like an adventure, but with a deeply grounding and anchoring force as well. Someone who will lead you into the unknown, but will help you to feel safe and make you laugh while doing it.
What happened? I have no idea. I've been roaming the streets. Since twilight. Darius. This city is my Jesus.
You're probably someone who's excited by the idea of self-discovery, intrigued by men who prioritize this aspect of life and care less about the structured necessities of societal expectations. It's not just about their depth, but also about the way that they float through life, laughing at the bullshit that comes through, rolling with whatever, and somehow making every situation feel like a story. They don't force meaning onto things like some shallowy intellectual people. Meaning just reaches them because they're open to it. If you want to attract a philosophical swamp daddy, do not chase or try to box these men in. These men probably like women who can match their energy, are okay with a sort of low-effort relationship when it comes to communication, etc., and are confident enough in themselves to allow their partner to be a free spirit. Laugh at their stories, keep conversation light, but throw in some wisdom and weird esoteric knowledge if you have it. Be down for any adventure, match their free spirit, but stand for yourself and your boundaries as an embrace of your true self. If you're deeply an introverted homebody, this archetype might not be the man for you, but check out my Cozy Men video coming soon. And that's all. Thank you so much for supporting. Let me know where you think I was right, where you think I was wrong, where I could do better, what I could improve on. And yeah, let me know what else you want to see. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.